The timer's o'clock. This is for Thursday. So I remember this food salesman coming by our house. He was like a door-to-door salesman, Bobbi. Comes to our house, knocks on the door, schedules an appointment. What he's going to do is he is going to sell my parents food so they don't have to go to a grocery store for like 6 months. You buy the stuff wholesale all at one time. You buy this big freezer and you end up saving just a ton of money. So he sits down at our kitchen table and talks to my parents about their food budget. By the way, this isn't part of the story I intended to tell, but if you're ever going to do this, think carefully about how many hot dogs you want if you're planning your food budget for a 6-month period. Because the last month, we had mini weenies chopped up with mac and cheese, pigs in a blanket, hot dogs chopped up with potatoes. If there's a way to eat hot dogs, I'm just saying, I've done it. But, and this is the key part of the story, he asked my parents about their food budget. And I remember them debating that forever. How much do we spend on food? Like it changes from week to week. There's the amount we want to spend versus the amount we do. What is our budget? How are we going to make the numbers actually work out? How much does it cost to feed our house? And I thought for today, that's a good question for you. It's a good question for me. And it's a good question for, let's say, Netflix. How much is enough? Live from my mom's half-finished basement and from Manhattan, it's the Money in the Morning Show. You just, Bobbi, you upgraded the open by 1,000%.
Yes, I'm here in the very grown-up kitchen.
Yes, I'm Joe Saul-Sehy. That's the voice of Bobbi Rebell, and this is Money in the Morning, the show where we go over not one but two financial headlines ripped from the press. And not only do we read them like some shows do, we actually talk about what they might mean to your wallet. And as if that's not enough, we combine them together at the end of the show with something called The Big Idea. Stacky Benjamins and Money in the Morning are brought to you by Tiller Money. See, I almost called this Stacky Benjamins. There's the first mistake of the day. Right there, yes. Your financial life in a spreadsheet, automatically updated each day on Tiller. You can manage your money 10 times faster in a spreadsheet with Tiller, the only service that automatically updates Google Sheets or Excel, your choice, with your daily spending, transactions, and balances. How does it work? Use our link to kick the tires, stackybenjamins.com/Tiller. And if you use our link, that they send us a thank you if you decide to buy it. So thanks to everybody who's used our link, and that keeps us podcasting. All right, we got a great show today. Two great headlines. Bobbi, you ready to do this?
I am ready, Joe. Always.
All right, let's fire this thing up.
Good morning. You supply the coffee. We'll bring the headlines. Here they come.
Joe, where's my coffee?
Well, that's the thing, is it says they supply the coffee. You and I supply the headlines.
Yeah, okay. That works.
But never once have I had anybody listening to the show actually send us the coffee. I'm just saying.
You know, I'm new to the show. I feel like we need some branded coffee mugs with our new logo.
That's a good idea. Do you have a mug?
Our new logo?
I have but I have this. This is M22. If you're somebody from Michigan, you know this road, and this goes.
No idea what that is.
This goes up along the. You know how Michigan is a mitten. This is. Welcome to the Michigan Geography Podcast. So this is Michigan, and there's this Grand Traverse Bay with Traverse City at the bottom of it. This little pinky finger here is Leelanau Peninsula, and M22 goes through Michigan wine country. And so I see this mug, and my blood pressure goes through the floor.
But we do have a new logo.
we do.
By the way.
A way better logo. She's like, I don't care about that.
Just saying.
Yes.
Yeah, whatever. But yeah, we got a new logo, guys. Do you guys like it?
Logo's far better than the top of my bald head. Is that what you're trying to say? Way better?
I'm saying I like the logo. You're on the logo. You're on it.
I do
With your
like
nice new headshot.
I do like the logo. It's fantastic. I like this first headline too. How's that for a transition?
Yeah.
First headline comes to us from thestreet.com. Netflix raising U.S. plan prices by 13 to 18%. Its largest increase ever. This is by Nelson Wong. The cost of a Netflix subscription in the USA is getting a little pricier, cheering investors. The streaming media giant's raising its U.S. monthly subscription prices by 13 to 18%, according to CNBC, its largest increase ever, and the fourth time it's increased prices in the U.S. since it started its streaming service 12 years ago. The last hike came in 2017. Shares of Netflix, as we recorded this, were rising 5% to $349.71. On Tuesday, Netflix shares are already up almost 30% early this year. The increase is the first time that price increases will affect all U.S. subscribers, which numbered 58 million at the end of September. Netflix's most popular U.S. plan, which offers high-definition streaming on up to 2 devices simultaneously, will increase in price from $11 to $13 per month, according to CNBC, while the cost of the most basic plan increases from $8 to $9 a month. The cost of a premium plan for ultra-high-definition video goes from $14 to $16 a month. The price increases go into effect immediately for new subscribers and be rolled out to current customers over the next 3 months. Customers in Latin America that are billed in U.S. currency will also see price increases, with the exception of Mexico and Brazil. Netflix is spending billions of dollars on original content as it seeks to lock in new subscribers around the world. Rivals such as Disney and AT&T are set to launch their own streaming service soon, and Apple is widely expected to do so as well. Netflix burned through about $3 billion in cash in 2018 and has said it expects to do the same in 2019. It's been borrowing heavily to finance its spending on new content. On Thursday, by the way, after the close, this audio goes out Thursday morning. Today after the close, then, we'll see Netflix is going to announce earnings. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. But let's start here. First thing I saw on Facebook, Bobbi, was a bunch of my friends saying, well, I'm getting rid of my Netflix. If they're raising it by 15 to 18%, I'm gone. Have you seen the same thing?
I have seen the same thing, but I don't believe it for one sec. I think it's a false promise. I think they're bluffing, because at the end of the day, I mean, come on, even top tier here is $16, which, by the way, is for a household. I have a household of 5 humans and 1 dog. The dog is also a viewer, we like to believe. And I think $16 a month is a pretty good deal considering what movies cost, at least here in New York City. I mean, I think you can't get to a movie for less than about $17 in the area. So even if you're somewhere less, if you go out on a movie night date, you're going to spend more than $16. So I think it's still okay.
And a lot of people say that the stuff that they see on Netflix, way better than you're seeing lately at the movie theater. I mean, the movie theater is great if you want to see a superhero flick, and that's about it.
Yeah, and you can probably see it on a screen at home that's almost as big relative to where you're sitting anyway, with beautiful surround sound, all those good things. And Netflix, they're going into debt for this. They're spending money, but you can see the money on the screen. I mean, I did a little fact checking or little research here, and according to Cheat Sheet, they spent $130 million on The Crown. It's a 10-episode season. They created this is unbelievable, a life-size replica of Buckingham Palace. Wow. They spent money. They've had 7,000 costumes.
Wow, 7,000 costumes.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're seeing the money on the screen. They're creating the same kind of content that you see in movie theaters. I mean, that's the budget you would see for a movie. And you're getting that, a month. Is that you or me? I think that
How
was
about
you.
that?
That's on you, Joe.
That was me, but I don't even know how it's coming through. How the heck is it coming through? We have everything on airplane mode. Again.
I don't know.
Welcome to Money in the Morning. For people wondering if we do this live, that was somebody from California calling me. I have no idea who that was. But
they're spending money. That's the point. They are spending money, and the content is good because people will leave the minute it's not good. If they don't have the compelling content, people will leave, and they've got a lot of companies, as you mentioned, chasing them. I mean, it's Disney has money. Apple has money to spend, and they can create some compelling content, and Netflix is defending its turf.
Well, investors clearly think that things are going well for the company, that this is a good move because of the stock going through the roof on this news. So different than, and this is kind of goes along with what we said on Tuesday, which is we have these people who say that they're getting rid of it, and certainly you should get rid of it if you think that it's bad, but that knee-jerk reaction about where you think the stock would go. So I bet a lot of those people thinking about getting rid of Netflix, that they thought the stock would probably go down on this news. Stock goes through the roof on this news, and it's because I think most people agree with you that, you know what, people aren't going to go away, that they will pay the extra money, even though it's the biggest price increase they ever had, which is incredible. I want to talk about this spending, though. You know, it's funny, Netflix having to make themselves relevant because of AT&T's new service, Disney service coming online. I think this is important for ordinary people. When I was a financial planner, I used to talk to people about thinking of yourself as if you're a company. I mean, Netflix sees the writing on the wall. And if you're somebody who's in a job and you see that maybe things are changing at work, I mean, going to your profession, Bobbi, I remember I used to be interviewed all the time on Detroit local TV when I used to live here. And 20 years ago, when people started coming to my work, you would have usually two, a reporter and somebody lugging the camera, the professional camera person, and sometimes three. Sometimes the producer would even come with them. So you'd have three people come to my office. By the end of that 10-year period, a decade ago, it was one every single time. The reporter themselves would bring the camera. They'd set up the shot. We'd keep going back and forth. You know, they'd have me stand where they're standing and have me move around, and then they'd mark the spot. And then they would start the camera and they'd do it themselves. Two of those three jobs went bye-bye. If you see that happen, you kind of got to do what Netflix is doing. Netflix has to spend more money and has to raise prices because, you know, with Disney coming online, that could be the end for them.
Yeah, well, I think that it's a good point you make. I mean, when I started on air, I would just do my report and leave. By the end, I was doing all of the technical stuff that went to it as well. And all the people around me, the editors and a lot of the shooters, all that stuff, those jobs went away. And they basically had the on-camera talent doing everything. So I agree with your analogy there. I also think it's important to point out, and you said that there's, I think, 58 million US subscribers.
Yeah.
You know, at a certain point, you can only grow the pie so much. There's only so many people that are going to get Netflix, and you can grow the number of subscribers, but in order to really raise revenue, you have to get more out of each subscriber. And they created the different tiers, and that was one way to differentiate. I had to upgrade my plan when they did the tiers because I have a family and I have 3 children who want to watch different things, and 2 of them, my stepchildren, are in college, so they need their own, logins, basically their own channels. So you can only have a certain number of people on the lowest plan. So I was forced to then pay more. So Netflix has been smart about getting more out of each subscription. And also a lot of people share the Netflix subscription. So remember, that's also a factor. Those people will pay less of an increase.
Yeah.
And we'll see that if they have a way to crack down on that too.
Well, and the question is, you know, how much do they really want to? I mean, to some degree, the viral stuff that shows like The Crown provide keep them relevant. Because I remember when The Crown was going on. By the way, I didn't want to watch The Crown. What's that?
I loved it.
Well, it's funny. I didn't want to watch it. I had nothing that I wanted to do with it. I wanted zero to do with that. And then Cheryl had me sit down and watch the first one with her. And I've watched 2 seasons. It's so good.
Fast. I know, but there's going to be a whole cast change. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that goes, because we're going to move into a more mature phase of life.
Whole different look.
The grown-up phase.
Can't wait for that. When does that come out, by the way?
I don't know. We'll have to get back to people on that.
If only there was a place we could look that up. But we're not going to do it right now. There is a place, but that'll be a whole different thing.
Our viewers will look that up for us.
We can give everybody homework, right?
Yeah.
If we can, since nobody brought the coffee, you can look up when the next season of The Crown comes up for us. But let's move this a different way, which is this. I also found it interesting that Netflix worked to give itself a pay raise. And what's funny is when we talk about individual budgeting, right? If you're thinking about yourself as a company, there's 2 ways you can go. You can cut costs. If Netflix cuts costs right now, they become less relevant, because with expensive programming like The Crown that's winning all kinds of awards and getting all kinds of eyeballs and making people come to to Netflix versus Hulu or whatever, they need to keep doing that. So on the other side, and this is what people don't do, I saw this study. We've talked about this before. There was some study that showed that people don't ask for raises at work, and yet 60% of bosses responded they would give people a raise if they just went and asked. You could give yourself a raise or go work a side hustle, make more money. We talk about clipping coupons, getting rid of Netflix, saving $4 here, but we never think about making more money, which is blue sky, Bobbi.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I have a lot of side hustles these days, but it is always good to increase your income because it's also a lot more fun than cutting back, right? And
Yeah.
this way you can afford your Netflix subscription.
Yes, that one's on you, not on me.
That was on me.
I didn't do the ding. That is so good. I love live radio. It's so good. Let's say hi to everybody hanging out with us on Facebook today. See what they have to add. Mike was here with us early and said he loves the behind the scenes stuff. It says the behind the scenes stuff action. That's where the magic happens. Nice stuff. Eric is. What's that?
Well, Sandy Smith up. See, now I'm getting because I can see you guys. I can say.
Oh yeah. No, I'm getting there. I just want to scroll back to the start first, if you don't mind. Kimberly's here. Gregory is here. Ryan is here. Hey, Ryan. Karen's back. It's her lunch break, and she's hanging out with us. Eric is here and says the best part of the show. Chris says it wouldn't be Money in the Morning without something going wrong. I totally agree. James has an interesting comment before we get to Sandy. James says, nobody's forcing anyone to keep Netflix all year. If you don't like the price, take a break for a month. The full year cost for 11 months then is pretty close to what you paid for a full year in the previous year. So if you don't like it, take a 1 month break and then you get 11 months instead of 12. Not bad. Save a little money. Lori's here. Hey, Lori. Amika is here. Sandy says Netflix has made the pay raise worth it by providing valuable content. And I think that's the key, right?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to bring up this point because that's the heart of it. At the end of the day, I mean, Hulu came on the scene because of The Handmaid's Tale. I mean, that's why we subscribed and then we stayed. But we were kind of discussing, well, we don't know when that show's coming back and we're not really watching much else on Hulu. I'm not saying there isn't anything else there. I'm not judging, but that's what brought us there. And I don't know. I mean, if Hulu doesn't have hits, people may drop off and maybe they'll try out Disney or maybe they'll try out AT&T or Apple. So these guys have to stay on their A game.
Yeah, because I think when it comes to your budget, it's about finding out what's worth it. And to Sandy's point, by the way, Sandy has an excellent site called Yes, I Am Cheap, where Sandy knows how to save $1. Let's put it that way. She so knows. If Netflix wasn't cranking out great content, you should go away. If it's not valuable to you, you should stop doing it. So, and too many people, by the way, hold on to these subscriptions. And that by the way, Bobbi, I know will be something that happens. There's going to be a bunch of people who are oblivious to this. They're going to keep paying it because it's going to happen automatically. It's going to come off a credit card. They're not going to pay any attention, and they're not watching any Netflix. If you're not watching any Netflix, you got to let it go bye-bye.
Yeah, they'll take you back. Don't worry.
Jim is here. Jim says you can only cut so much from your budget. I totally agree. And you know what's funny? You can't shrink your way to greatness, right? I mean, to some degree, you can cut and become more frugal, but in my mind, too few people work to give themselves a pay raise, which is often far easier and a far better use of time than trying to cut 50 cents. So good stuff. Amika says, hey, Joe, I hope Neighbor Doug still has a job. Bobbi, we still love you. Welcome to the team.
Thank you.
And Neighbor Doug does have a job at the end of the show. You'll hear him. But we tend to keep him locked away while we're recording. Let's move on to our second piece, which comes to us from the Atlanta area. This is from AJC.com. This was incredibly disturbing. I always hate it, Bobbi, when somebody gets duped. And this particular woman sent $91,000 to a hacker. Mm-hmm. This is ugly. This piece is written by Steve Burns. Gwinnett County Police are seeking a man who they say used a fake email address to induce a would-be property owner to wire, wait for it, $91,000 into an incorrect bank account. On December 5th, the victim was preparing to close on a property. Spokesman Corporal Wilbert Rundle said a couple weeks ago in a statement. She received an email with instructions on where to wire the payment, he said. She wired over $91,000 to an account at a bank in unincorporated Norcross. The woman found out the intended people did not receive the money. It was sent to an incorrect account under false pretenses, Rundle said. Police said the man, whose picture was released a couple weeks ago, wired most of the money overseas and withdrew the remaining money in cash. And then it goes through anybody with information about the case is asked to call the police, the local police department number here. If you're in the Atlanta area and you know something about it, 770-513-5300. There's a $2,000 reward. This is pretty ugly, Bobbi.
It's really ugly. And what resonates most with me is we will all want to believe that this would not happen to us. And I certainly hope it would never happen to me or anyone I know or anyone. But the truth is we are all so vulnerable. And especially when papers are flying and money is flying, when you buy a property, I've owned a number of properties and been at a number of closings, and there's piles of paper and checks being written, and you don't know with what's going on with what. Things happen. So, I mean, at a basic level, don't wire money. Just bring I guess it's a cashier's check to a closing.
Yeah.
Just bother. If they're pressuring you to get them the money faster, which is probably what was going on here, just don't. I've had closings where I've delayed because I didn't like something that was slipped into the paperwork. I had, in one case, the apartment I'm in, actually, they had said the apartment would be empty and there was a bed in the bedroom. And you know what? It costs money. We're on the 10th floor. It costs money to get that bed removed. And I said, we're not signing. We will sit here until, I think I sent my brother over somebody to make sure the bed was out. If you need your time to make sure whatever it is done properly, that you're happy with at a closing or any financial transaction, push back. Don't be pressured. Take your time. Make them make it right.
Plutus Lifetime Achievement Award winner Jim Wang is here with us in the comments and from Wallet Hacks, and says, this happened to my friend too. She got an email but called her realtor to confirm and discovered it was fake, but it had all the correct information. How is that possible? We Jim, it might be a mutual friend. We had Shannon Allen, a blogger, on our show talking about how this happened to her with 50-something thousand. And it turned out that this particular hacker, to show you how sophisticated these people are, Bobbi, they actually were sitting on the title company's computers, is what people think.
God. And this could happen to anyone. It really could.
Yeah, so they were to fake the same name, so it looked like the same name. It was the same. They copied their letterhead. They made it look really official, made it read like every other one did, and just changed a couple digits in the account number. And then, and Shannon said, had she actually looked at the address, because when you pull up in most of your email clients, you pull up the address. It gives you the full address, and most of them just tell you it's, if I get an email from Bobbi, it just says Bobbi. It doesn't say Bobbi Rebell at financialgrownup.com or whatever it might be. It just says it's from Bobbi. Well, this said it was just from that person. And Shannon said, had she pulled up the whole thing, she would have seen that it was a different address.
Yep.
And that they were making it look the same. It is ugly. Sandy says Bobbi drops knowledge. That's why we have her on the show. We needed that. As Sandy already knows. Show up with a check, no wiring funds. I was ready to walk because of a crack in the flooring. Yeah.
I think Sandy brings up a great point, because when you are the buyer, you have all the power, because they're going to own that. If you walk away from a deal, that seller is stuck. If they're at the point where they are about to close, they are ready to go, and you have all the power. You can always buy something else. Don't worry about it. So make sure everything that you want, a crack in the flooring, whatever it is, make them fix it or make them cut you a check so you can fix it, and make that check big enough that there's no problem, because they have everything at stake and you can walk. So hold your ground.
This is a frustrating, it's a frustrating circumstance, because having just, helped my mom move to the new basement, me moving to Detroit, all of these moves, I've been involved with some house closings lately, and the realtors are really pressuring you to get stuff done by X day. And you have to realize, even though they continually tell you that it's for you, it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with the fact that they want to get paid. They want to get paid today.
Have you ever noticed that they always show up in person at the closing? You know why, Joe?
Because they get a check right at the end.
Get the check. They don't want to they don't want you wiring that check to them. They want to cash you. They want their money right then.
Yeah.
They want to make sure the deal closes. So everyone, even though you may have a buyer's person that's on your side, at the end of the day, you're the only one that has any stake in holding off the deal if something's not right.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. That doesn't mean real estate people are horrible. Just
they get paid.
Sure. Yeah. There's other motivations. I want to get paid. That's why I show up to this podcast. Waiting, someday we'll get paid. At the end of this podcast, we'll get at the end of some presentation, maybe we'll get paid. But I think the big thing here and the big takeaway is these big transactions, hypervigilant. And even if people are pressuring you, realize that with these big transactions, how many houses are you going to buy during your lifetime? And unless you're a flipper or somebody investing in individual real estate properties, maybe you'll move 4 times. I think the average person in the U.S., I was just reading, moves 4 times during their lifetime. Might move 4 times. So this is going to be one of the 4 or 5 biggest transactions you ever have. Take your time. Don't worry about who you're upsetting, and make sure this stuff, it just kills me. Now, in the case of, and I'd be curious because Jim in the comments says that his was somebody else. So this has happened now 3 times that we know of. Somebody Jim knows, somebody I know, and then this person in this piece. I'm sure it's happened quite a bit.
Oh, people are embarrassed. They're not going to tell people that this happens. It's embarrassing.
Well, yeah. In Shannon's case, she was able to get her money back because the hacker left it there. In this case, the money's gone. $91,000 is gone. I mean, and there's no way to get it back. There's 0 way to get it back. That's absolutely ugly. Eric says he waits till the end of the show to get paid too. People that don't hang out with us on Facebook and watch it don't realize you get paid at the end of the show. And nobody yet, Bobbi, has waited long enough to get paid. I wait and wait.
Start paying per comment. What's a comment worth, Joe?
We gotta imagine if we were paying per comment. We'd have 6-hour shows. Well, it depends on how much we're paying. Yeah. Mike's going to opine on both of these. How about that word, opine? Headline number 1, Netflix raises prices. Headline number 2, he says his big idea prediction is know where your money's going. Well, we'll see, Mike. This is going to be interesting. Yeah, and Jim says checks in the mail, right? Absolutely. Everybody start holding your breath right now. Checks on the way as soon as we get done. We swear. But we never pinky swear because we don't do that. Anyway.
We're grown-ups here.
Yes. In just a second, we'll have the big idea. I love it that Mike's already predicting what our big idea for today's show is. But first, I want to talk about Tiller, because if you're managing your expenses, you want to know that Netflix price went up, don't you? You want to know when $91,000 went bye-bye, went to the wrong people. And a great way to do that is by having an app to help you manage your money. Don't get me wrong. You can use a spreadsheet yourself and manually download transactions yourself. But that's why historically I've used things like Mint or Clarity Money. Some people use YNAB. Lately, about 9 months ago, I switched over to Tiller, which is why we talk about Tiller on the show. And here's why. It's because as much as I like other apps, there are things that annoy me about all of them. And with Tiller, I can get rid of all those things that annoy me and just keep the stuff I like because it's based on a spreadsheet. Now, a lot of people hear spreadsheets and they go, oh my God, I don't want anything to do with that. Well, the cool thing is you can start with, like I did, a template. And you can change templates until you find the one that you like. And then if the template isn't perfect, because it's a spreadsheet, you can just change it and make it however you want it. Head to stackybenjamins.com/Tiller, and you'll get to kick the tires for free for a while. The nice thing about that is if you use our link also, they send us a thank you. So check out Tiller. If you're going to check it out, use our link. By the way, if you're happy with what you use, keep using that because it's more about using something than nothing. But if you're like me and you're like, man, these are annoying, try out Tiller because you can. It is whatever you make it. And I absolutely love being in control of where my money's going. All right. So, Bobbi, it's time for the big idea. Did you stretch out?
What?
Did you stretch out? You ready for this?
I stretched out. I'm ready to go.
There are lots of transactions that happen in your life. And it's funny because a lot of people pay attention to the little transactions. They pay attention to a lot of little tiny things. My mom used to call those the little rocks. She calls the little things. But really, when you look at if you fill up a bowl with rocks, there's these huge rocks that take up lots of space, and there's all these little rocks. And so many people are busy looking at coupon clipping or looking at maybe saving 50 cents there or canceling. And James even mentioned canceling Netflix for a month, right? You can do those little rocks, but there's big rocks. And certainly, if you look at just the number, Bobbi, Netflix raising their stuff maybe $2 or $3, not a big deal. But when it's an 18%, yes, when it's that big, 18%, that's a pretty big rock.
Yeah, 18% is a lot.
And it's something that we should pay attention to.
If your interest rate was 18% on a loan, that's a lot, right?
Absolutely. And on the other side, if you have a $91,000 transaction going on and you get this last minute email, and I'm not saying this person was stupid or that they did something dumb, because
it could happen to anyone.
could
It really
totally
could
happen to anybody. You got to pay attention to these big rocks. Be hyper vigilant when it comes to the big rocks. And I think that's my biggest takeaway. Anything to add to that, Bobbi?
Yeah, I think you got to pay attention to everything. And we get so busy in our daily lives running around and managing our families and all of our business. And also we automate so many things that we miss things. So your Netflix subscription, I'm going to guess for most of us is automated. So we're probably not going to notice this unless you fortunate people are listening to us. But you don't notice these couple of bucks here and there, but it is big on a percentage basis. And if all of your expenses, let's say, went up 18%, oh my gosh, you're probably not getting an 18% raise, but Netflix gave themselves an 18% raise, as we talked about. So it's important to pay attention. And when you send things, especially money over electronic transmission of some, wiring it, you need to make sure everything is perfect. And ideally just don't do that. Just walk in with a cashier's check, even though I always feel scared, Joe. I don't know about you walking around with a big check. I've closed on 3 different homes in my time, and it's really scary, but putting it out there obviously has other dangers. So it's really important to pay attention to the big rocks, as you say.
Speaking of big rocks, Mike is getting a big pay raise from us. We're going to give Mike a 30% pay raise because Mike's prediction for the big idea was this. He said, know where your money's going. When your subscription raises prices or renew, you have to audit the value. When you send money somewhere online or not, be comfortable with the process and buyer beware. Caveat emptor. Mike gets a 30% pay raise.
Awesome.
It's great. Thanks for hanging out, everybody on Facebook. Thanks, Bobbi, for hanging out.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll see you next time back here, everyone, on Money in the Morning.
Money in the Morning is created by Joe Saul-Sehy and comes to your ears because of the collective genius of our producer, Richie Rutter-Reese, engineer, Caden Thompson, and a pack of very well-trained ferrets here in the basement. You'll find links to all of our headlines featured on today's show in Joe's Twitter feed at @AverageJoeMoney. I know you already know this too, but Money in the Morning is for entertainment purposes only. You shouldn't act on anything recommended by a bunch of entertainers in a basement without first consulting with your financial advisor and second, having your head examined. Have a headline you'd like us to discuss? Send them to joe@stackingbenjamins.com or put them on our Stacking Benjamins Basement closed Facebook group. This show is copyright 2018 Stacking Benjamins LLC, all rights reserved. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and I reserve the right to always say, we'll see you next time back here on Money in the Morning.